What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Philly Sports Power Hour. And what a start to NFL free agency we had for the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday. Some big moves from Howie Roseman. And I know some people are not happy about Saquon Barkley. I'm not one of them. I think this is a great start. We'll talk about it. They can't be done. They can't be finished. But you can't be upset with this start. And we'll talk about it. Once again, me and Big Sills disagree. We can't see eye to eye on anything. But this is a great start. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the other moves they made. Bryce Huff. We'll take a look around the NFL and some of the other free agent signings that are happening. This is just such a great time of year. But we're streaming live on the JAKIB Sports Network. We are also live on all my social media platforms as well. We're here on TikTok. So let's jump right in. Let me get a little roll call in the chat. I see a lot of people checking in early. I see J Train on TikTok. We got Saquon. Let's go. I see Gary Williams excited on YouTube. What do we got here today? Bry Guy, good morning. Jason A-Team, good morning. Wine Niners Wine. David Laprati, Mike Fittery, Flexin and Steppen is not happy. Chuck Hutton, Pork Roll, Egg and Cheese, Denise Larada, Jim G, Roast Pork Italian in the house. Anthony, Big D, Solomon, Chuck Hutton, Jackson. Everybody checking in today. Ray 85, Josh Klinger on TikTok. What is up, my friends? Let's jump right in. Let's jump right in to the biggest news from yesterday. The Philadelphia Eagles signed Saquon Barkley to a 3-year, $37.75 million deal. Now, we knew that there were rumors that they were interested, but a lot of people just couldn't believe it. It didn't seem like Howie Roseman. Didn't seem like Howie Roseman would do something like that. But what I said yesterday, and if you tuned into the Fanatic yesterday, I appreciate you. We got to break that news on the air, which was pretty cool. But what I said yesterday was, although this may be a little out of character for Howie Roseman, we've never seen Howie Roseman have this much money to spend under the salary cap. We've never seen it. I can't remember a time. Now, he's been the general manager since, 2010, other than that 1 year. The 1 year he had with Chip Kelly putting him in a storage closet. I can't remember a time since 2010 that Howie Roseman had $43 million to spend in free agency. And not only do they have $43 million under the cap this year, we know the cap's going up again next year. You know the cap's going to go up again 2 years from now. The cap's going up, 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 up. So when I see fans who are not happy because they say, oh, he overpaid Saquon Barkley, you have to understand that I don't worry about the money right now. They have so much money under the cap, and we know the cap's going up next year and the year after. They will make it work. They will figure out how to make this work and fill all the other needs. We shouldn't be concerned about the salary cap. It went up $30 million this year. So it doesn't make sense. So fans out there, you could debate whether or not you like the move itself, whether or not you think Saquon Barkley fits, which I would completely disagree with you if you don't think he fits. But to make the argument that they overpaid Saquon just isn't true. It doesn't matter what they paid Saquon Barkley. They still have plenty of money under the cap. They still have plenty of flexibility to go out there and sign whatever they need. It doesn't matter. This is the time of year where everybody acts like it's their own damn money. Like, oh, I never would have. How do you pay a running back that much money? We're talking about a couple of $1 million difference under a cap that already went up $30 million That's going to go up probably another $20 million next year and another $20 million the year after because it's based off of NFL revenue, and the NFL is a freaking monster. So I'm not understanding anybody who's worried about the money. And I see my man Gary Williams checking in on TikTok saying Howie is a cap genius, so he's not worried. Exactly. What are we worried about the money for? I understand maybe worrying about Howie Roseman when it comes to talent evaluation. We've had that issue. We've had that issue in the past, especially in the draft when it comes to talent evaluation. But if you're worried about the money, that they paid for Saquon Barkley, what have we learned about Howie Roseman over the last 15 damn years? Don't worry about the freaking money. If that's the only negative you have, if that's the only negative that you can say about the signing of Saquon Barkley, then you don't understand what Howie Roseman is good at. And we can debate whether or not Howie Roseman is a good talent evaluator. We can debate whether or not we agree with his philosophy about ignoring positions. But you cannot debate that he's a master when it comes to the salary cap. And you gave this guy $43 million of cap space, knowing it's only going up, year after year after year. What are you worried about the money for? They gave Jalen Hurts $255 million, and his cap hit will not reach what Daniel Jones' cap hit is this season for another 4 damn years. And we're worried about the total money? I tell you this all the time. If you follow this show, if you follow me, you can't worry about the overall number. The number that matters is the cap hit. Who gives a crap if he's spending Jeffrey Lurie's money? It doesn't matter. It's not your money. What you need to worry about is the cap number. That's what matters. So everybody now putting on their GM hat, oh, they overpaid. You don't know what the cap hits are. So when they gave Jalen Hurts $255 million and people were losing their mind, we found out a couple days later what the cap numbers are, and Jalen Hurts right now has a $13.5 million cap. Daniel Jones has a $47 million cap. And Hurts' cap hit doesn't go up to over $47 million for 5 years. So get out of here. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about when I say people being negative just for the sake of being negative. How could you sit here today and be negative about the Saquon Barkley signing? Who cares about what they paid him? There's plenty of money under the damn cap. Now, I don't want them to be done. I don't want them to be finished. And we'll talk about in a second what they need to do to make me feel better about that defense. But to sit here and be negative about adding Saquon Barkley to this Philadelphia Eagles offense because, oh, they overpaid him. Get out of here. Get out of here. They overpaid him. It's freaking Howie Roseman. The one thing he does well is the damn salary cap. And we're going to be worried about the amount of money they paid a running back. Get out of here. Please. And I see a lot of people agreeing with me in the chat, and I love it. I see people on TikTok are excited. People on YouTube are excited, and we should be excited. This is a great addition to that offense. And we'll talk about the defense in a second because there are still a lot of needs on defense. It hasn't even been 24 hours yet. That's the thing I feel like people don't understand. It hasn't even been 24 hours. There are tons of players still available. Tons of players still available. What are we worried about? Everybody needs to relax. But I think a majority of the people are excited. And we're getting breaking news right now as we're here on the show. Philadelphia Eagles are signing offensive lineman Matt Hennessy. He started 22 starts in 41 games. He's played left guard and center, 6'3", 300 pounds. Missed all of last year with a knee injury. Former third-round pick out of Temple. So to bring back a Temple kid, Probably a depth signing on the offensive line. Fine. They needed it. We're also getting some reports that they still have their eye on safety Justin Simmons. So we'll talk about the defense in a second, but a nice depth signing. Hennessy's only 26 years old. We know they need some depth on the offensive line. And I see M. Reyes checking in. New student for Stoutland University. You're damn right. But I don't understand anybody who could be upset with the Saquon Barkley signing. And let's take a look at it for a second. Because I know some people, maybe some people on this channel, are making the argument that Barkley's not that good. That Barkley hasn't done anything over the last couple of years. I want you to listen to who Saquon Barkley has played with for the New York Giants, and you tell me how we're not going to see that guy go absolutely nuts in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform. Last season with the New York Giants, their number one receiver was Darius Slayton with 770 yards. The starting quarterback, Daniel Jones, Tommy freaking Cutlets, Tyrod Taylor. 2022, leading wide receiver for the New York Giants, Darius Slayton, 724 yards. 2021, the leading wide receiver for the New York Giants, Kenny Golladay, 521 yards. 2020, Darius Slayton, 751 yards. 2019, Darius Slayton, 740 yards. Saquon Barkley has only played one season with a wide receiver that had over 1,000 yards receiving, and it was his rookie year, 2018, with Odell Beckham Jr. And guess what Saquon Barkley did that year? When he actually had some weapons around him. He rushed for over 1,300 yards, 5 yards a carry, had another 91 receptions for 721 yards, had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage when he had Eli Manning and Odell Beckham Jr. And then you completely devoided that team of talent. You took away all of their freaking talent. And you made this guy play with a bad offensive line, with below average quarterback play. This season, terrible quarterback play with Tommy DeVito. You gave him zero weapons. The guy hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver on his offense since his rookie season. In fact, they haven't had anyone with over 750 damn yards. And now you're going to bring him in, and you're going to put him on an offense with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and yes, Jalen Hurts, who's a better damn quarterback by far than Daniel Jones, Tommy Cutlets, or Tyrod Taylor. How anybody could be sitting here talking negatively about this move, it's absurd. And if the only argument you got is that they paid him too much money, stop worrying about the money. That's the one thing Howie Roseman knows how to do. I am excited if you couldn't tell. Who's stopping this offense? And yes, Twiz just took the words out of my mouth. Saquon can pass block. So one of the problems that we had last season, in addition to Brian Johnson being the offensive coordinator, is DeAndre Swift was not a very good pass blocker. So although we wanted to see them use him more in the passing game, because Swift can catch the ball out of the backfield, the problem was if you put him on the field in a passing situation, depending on the look you get from the defense, your running back may have to stay in to pass block for blitz protection. DeAndre Swift was one of the worst pass blockers in the NFL last year from the running back position. Saquon, one of the best. So this move is great across the board for the offense. If you couldn't tell, I'm excited about it. But man, I can't wait to see what this kid's going to do what Saquon Barkley is going to do with this offense. And if you are worried about it, if you're an Eagles fan in the chat who's worried about it, just look at what's happening in New York right now. Why do you think the Giants fans and former players and Tiki Barber are losing their damn minds? Because they see what this does for the Philadelphia Eagles. Every single one of my friends, my college quarterback, who's a big Giants guy, is texting me like crazy yesterday, pissed off, can't believe it, because they see what Saquon Barkley is. One of my offensive linemen from college, another New York Giants fan, he wrote back, he said, Saquon's going to put up over 200 yards rushing in the first half against the Giants. So stop with they overpaid. It's ridiculous. Stop worrying about the damn money. And I know some people are worried about they have too many weapons on offense. How are they going to make everybody happy? Well, the main thing is when players want the ball, a lot of times it's because they want to earn their contract, their next contract. It's about money. They want the ball sometimes, in some situations, because they have to earn that next deal. Saquon got paid. He's not worried. A.J. Brown, I know we talk about how he wants targets. He wants targets. If they are winning games, it won't matter. It's not going to matter. And guess what? They now have a really good offensive coordinator that's going to figure out ways to get their playmakers the ball. If our biggest issue, if we are seriously making an issue of we have too many playmakers, I'll take that as a freaking problem. That we have too many playmakers. That's a negative now, that we have too many playmakers. Great move for Howie Roseman. Great move for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm not worried about the money. They also make some other moves that we'll talk about, because they do make a move on the defensive side of the football. They bring in 25-year-old edge rusher Bryce Huff, which, if you tuned in yesterday before free agency hit, he was a name that I was expecting them to sign. We talked about him at length yesterday. There were reports kind of all weekend that that's who they were looking at. But he's undrafted out of Memphis in 2020. And here's the negative on him. So we'll start with the negative, and then I'll get to the positive. The negative with Bryce Huff is that he only plays about 42% of the snaps with the Jets. And the reason they don't have him on the field more was because he's terrible against the run. You look at his Pro Football Focus grades, he's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Not very good against the run. Now, what we have to hope here is that coming to a system with coaches like Vic Fangio, who we know is a great teacher, that's all you hear about him, with a new defensive line coach, Clint Hurt, who was the DC in Seattle last year, that these guys are going to be able to coach him up. He's still only 25 years old. And pass rushers don't grow on trees. You just got one of the best pass rush specialists in the NFL. So as bad as he is against the run, he's even better against the pass. So maybe you take that exchange. Because you look at Bryce Huff, and last year he had double-digit sacks, really only playing 42% of the snaps. But you look at his win rate on pass rushing downs last season. 22.9%. There were only 2 pass rushers in the entire NFL who had a higher win rate than Bryce Huff last season. Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. That's it. You are getting a true pass rusher in Bryce Huff. And he's only 25 years old. And you didn't break the bank for him at all. When they signed Haason Reddick 2 years ago, they signed him to a 3-year, $45 million deal. Turned out to be an absolute steal. So much so that Reddick's not happy with the deal, as he shouldn't be. He's only being paid $15 million a year. He's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. So they just signed Bryce Huff, who's only 25 years old, to 3 years, $51 million. With the increase in the cap the way it was, they essentially paid Bryce Huff less than what they paid Haason Reddick 2 years ago. And how did that work out? So they did not overpay for Bryce Huff. 3 years, $51 million for one of the best pass rushers in the NFL is a steal with the cap where it is. See, that's the thing that everybody has to understand. You can't look at numbers from previous years and think that they're overpaying. The cap went up a record high. The cap went up 30 freaking million. So everything changes. And don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the money with Howie Roseman. But Bryce Huff is a very good pass rusher. And we've seen it. As frustrating as Jonathan Gannon's defense was a couple of years ago, because they weren't great against the run. Middle of the pack against the run. See, where are my stats here? 2022, they were 16th against the run on defense. But they led the NFL in sacks. And because they led the NFL in sacks, they also had the number one pass defense. They only gave up 179.8 yards a game. And then you go to last season, 2023. Started out the year with a great running defense, didn't they? Stopping everybody. Average of 66 yards a game against on the ground. It didn't matter because they didn't have a pass rush. They went from 70 sacks down to 43. And their pass defense went from first in the NFL down to 31st in the NFL. And once teams started picking them apart in the air, what happens? It opens up the running game. The last 8 games of the season, every single team put up over 100 yards rushing. You need to have a good pass rush in the NFL. And they got a real pass rusher in Bryce Huff. And again, what I like about this move is he's young. He's 25 years old. We are just scratching the surface of his potential. So in my opinion, 2 really good moves by Howie Roseman to start. Now, he can't be finished. I'm not saying that we're okay now, that we could just sit back and Howie doesn't have to do anything and we're going to be fine. But this is a great start, man. We're not even 24 hours. We're not even 24 hours in to the legal tampering period. And there are a ton of playmakers still available on the defensive side of the football. So when we get back, we'll take a look around because there were some other big signings in the NFL. But the Eagles, they did make 2 other moves now in addition to the big ones. Obviously, Barkley and Huff were the big splashes. But I just told you they signed an offensive lineman for some depth. Matt Hennessy out of Temple, who was hurt all last season with a knee injury. Good depth piece. And then they also did add a linebacker yesterday. Zach Bond, only 27 years old. He was a 3rd-round draft pick for the New Orleans Saints. But he just finished his rookie deal. Only played about 30%. I think it was 27% of the defensive snaps. Now, he's an interesting depth piece because in addition to being able to play off-ball linebacker, that Sam linebacker position, he can also blitz the quarterback from the edge. So I do expect them to kind of use him as a depth piece, both at linebacker and rushing the quarterback, but that can't be the answer at linebacker, and I don't think it is. They only gave him a 1-year deal. He seems like he's going to be a special teams player for this team. You're losing guys, probably Sean Bradley. He's a free agent. I don't know if he's coming back, was a big special teamer 2 years ago before he got hurt in training camp. So Zach Bond, another depth piece, only 27 years old. And then obviously the Matt Hennessy signing that just broke. So it's a great start. A great start. So when we get back, I want to change our focus a little bit. We'll take a look around the NFL at some of the other signings that happened. And then we'll look at what are the Eagles going to do next, because I don't think they're done. They can't be done. If we're sitting here in a couple of months and this is all they did, then I would say, yeah, not a good free agency. But anybody who's sitting here, and I see my man flexing and stepping in the chat, anybody who's sitting here and isn't happy with where we are less than 24 hours into free agency, you're being negative to be negative. This is what I'm talking about. This is what bothers me sometimes in this town. How could you be negative right now? If this is the team, come August when training camp starts, okay, let's be negative because I don't like where the defense is. But we're not there yet. It's literally been less than 24 hours. Just calm the hell down. Stop worrying about the money. It's not your money. And Howie Roseman is a master when it comes to the cap. And you look at Saquon Barkley, I'm telling you, we talked about this. I know people are saying he's injury prone. He's injury prone. Well, a lot of people wanted DeAndre Swift back. And I gave you this stat yesterday. The last 3 seasons, Saquon Barkley has played 45 games. In the last 3 seasons, DeAndre Swift has played 44 games. So again, not understanding it. People just, they take something, they put it in their head, and then they just start spewing statement. Oh, he's injury prone. Nah, they should have brought back Swift. He's injury prone. He's played more damn games than DeAndre Swift over the last 3 years. So get out of here with that crap. But anyway, don't bring me down today. I'm feeling good today. But when we get back, we'll take a look around the NFL. We'll look at some other signings. And then we'll also take a look at where maybe the Philadelphia Eagles are going with their next moves because we're just getting started. This is the Philly Sports Power Hour. I'm Bill Colarulo. Hit that like button. We'll be right back.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Bills. He's coming back at you. Philly Sports Power Hour. Less than 24 hours removed from the start of legal tampering in the NFL. And during the break, I was chatting with my TikTok crew in the house here on TikTok, asking some questions about safety and linebacker. I am not disagreeing with the people in the chat who are talking about the defense. 1,000%, I agree. They still need help on defense. No one is saying that we are happy with the team as is right now without more additions coming. But you have to relax. You have to be excited about the start of free agency. All the linebackers, with the exception of Frankie Lavu, are still on the market. But what went quickly? What position went quickly in free agency right away? Running backs. DeAndre Swift signed right away in Chicago, 3 years, $24 million. Tony Pollard signed right away in Tennessee, 3 years, $24 million. Austin Eckler signed in Washington. Josh Jacobs signs in Green Bay. We'll talk about the Green Bay Packers in a second because they're looking really good. Now you have Aaron Jones signing in Minnesota. So the Philadelphia Eagles took care of a need. And I see in the chat someone talking about how running back wasn't a need. You're damn right it was a need. What running back did you have under contract? Kenny Gainwell? They absolutely had to address the running back position. Now, did I expect them to make a huge splash like they did? No. I didn't expect that. But how could you be angry about adding weapons to this team? If that doesn't prevent us, if it doesn't prevent the Philadelphia Eagles from still going out and bringing in players on the defensive side of the football, what are you upset about? Maybe they still draft a running back in the later rounds. Who cares? You now have Saquon Barkley and Kenny Gainwell on that offense with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Now, what I would like to see them do if they're going to draft offensive players is you're going to need a lineman. We need to start building back the depth of the offensive line, maybe a replacement down the road for Lane Johnson. You need a third wide receiver. I'm okay doing that in the draft or even in the second or third wave of free agency. You don't have to break the bank. And you also need a second tight end. And I'm sure all of you have heard the stat or the information that when they drafted Dallas Goedert, the age Zach Ertz was then was younger than how old Dallas Goedert is now. So there's nothing preventing them from maybe using a draft pick on a tight end. But all of that can be addressed. But it's just funny because the people who are negative just for the sake of being negative, now with the Saquon Barkley signing, it's, they should have just drafted a running back. You guys would be losing your damn minds if we went into this season with Kenny Gainwell and an unknown rookie at running back. Everybody would be like, how could Howie Roseman go into this season with only Kenny Gainwell and an unknown rookie? So get out of here, man. Get out of here with the negativity. And I don't mean get out of here. I love you in the chat. But stop with the negativity, man. Come on. If Howie Roseman would have used a first-round draft pick on a running back, you'd be losing your minds. Even a second-round draft pick on a running back, you'd be losing your minds. So now they bring in Saquon Barkley, and some people are upset. I think a majority of people are happy. But here's where we have to relax, okay? This is where everybody needs to calm down. 2017, Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl. Free agency kicked off March 9th that year. Howie Roseman made 2 signings on the first day. Torrey Smith and Alshon Jeffrey. People were probably losing their minds. People were probably, what is he doing? He only signed 2 wide receivers today. You have to wait. Free agency isn't just the first day. There's a ton of time left. Let's just look at 2017. He signs Torrey Smith and Alshon Jeffrey on the first day. He signs backup quarterback Nick Foles about a week later. Almost 3 weeks later, he signs Chris Long and Patrick Robinson. Chris Long, the one who hit Case Keenum's arm in the NFC Championship game, forcing him to throw an interception to Patrick Robinson, who took it the other way for a touchdown. The rest was history. He didn't sign LeGarrette Blount until May. Made trades for Timmy Jerrigan in April. Ronald Darby in August. Jay Ajayi in October. So relax. I still want to see them make moves too. I still want to see splashes at linebacker and safety. But just relax. It's a good start. And I mentioned Ronald Darby. He reunites with Dougie P. Jacksonville just signed him to a 2-year deal. But let's also look at the 2022 season. They went to the Super Bowl. Howie only signed 1 player at the very start of free agency. Haason Reddick. Didn't sign Zach Pascal for a week, Kazir White for 2 weeks, James Bradbury until May, Linval Joseph, Ndamukong Suh until November. Traded for A.J. Brown in April. Traded for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in August. So I'm with you. I'm with all of you. I want linebackers. I want safeties. He can't be done, but just relax. You can only do so much on the first day of free agency. So let's see what happens over the next few days. Now, one of the players that I've heard the Philadelphia Eagles were interested in at safety, which is a good sign that they were looking at safety, was Xavier McKinney. But they get outbid by the Green Bay Packers. Let me see. I'm trying to pull up. What was the deal for Xavier McKinney? It was a lot of money. I wrote it down. You probably have it in front of you. Got too many notes here. Losing my mind with all these notes I got. So Xavier McKinney gets 4 years, $68 million from the Green Bay Packers. It's a ton of money. Ton of money. He was the guy I wanted. My first choice at safety would have been Antoine Winfield Jr. He gets franchise tagged by the Bucs. Smart move by them. We talked about it last week. So then my second choice would have been Xavier McKinney. All reports are Philadelphia Eagles were in, but they got outbid by Green Bay. What are you going to do? So he goes to the Green Bay Packers. 4 years, $68 million. Now, it's funny because Flexing and Steppin', my man in the chat, who's overly negative about the Saquon Barkley move, is saying that Xavier McKinney's worth it. Now, I agree with you. I do think Xavier McKinney's worth it. Why are you not freaking out about his injury history? Why are you freaking out about Saquon, but you're not freaking out about Xavier McKinney? He's been in the league for 4 years. 2 of the seasons Xavier McKinney's been in the NFL, he played less than 10 games. Now, if the Philadelphia Eagles would have signed them, you'd probably be saying, how could they give so much money to a safety that's always hurt? But Green Bay signs him, and now, Green Bay's geniuses. Come on. Come on, Flexin'. Stay consistent, my man. So I would have liked them. I think it was a good move by Green Bay. And Green Bay is scary. You take a look around the NFC. And we've talked about this a couple weeks on the show. I'm not as worried about the Super Bowl hangover 49ers. I think they're going to struggle this season. I'm not as worried about the Dallas Cowboys because we know the Cowboys will turn into the Cowboys eventually. But the team to be worried about, in my opinion, it's not the Detroit Lions. It's another NFC North team, and that's the Green Bay Packers, because we saw what they could do last year. Jordan Love really came on at the end of the season, started playing well around Thanksgiving, and then just kept it going all the way through the playoffs. So watch out for the Green Bay Packers. They now add Josh Jacobs to their offense that was already playing really well. And now they add Xavier McKinney to their defense. But like I've said before, with Jordan Love, I think the kid's going to be a really good quarterback. I think he showed us a lot the last 8 games. But just like I constantly hear about Jalen Hurts, that he only did it for 1 season. Oh, Jalen Hurts isn't that good. Only did it for 1 season. We've only seen Jordan Love do it for half a season. So before everybody's ready to anoint him as the next great thing in the NFC, let's see what he does when defensive coordinators adjust. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. But if you're not willing to say that Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback because he only did it for 1 season, why are we so quick to anoint Jordan Love, who's only done it for half a season? And as expected, flexing and stepping. Jordan Love is better than Jalen Wentz. 8 games, flexing. 8 games. Not saying I disagree that he can't become a good quarterback. But how do you sit here and say that Jalen Hurts stinks because he only did it for 1 year, but we're ready to say that Jordan Love is the next great thing because he did it for 8? So let's see what he does when defensive coordinators adjust. That's all I'm saying. I like Jordan Love. He's got potential. He's got a good coach, got a good team around him. But let's see what he does this season before we're ready to anoint him as the next great thing. Just wait. Because how many times have we seen a quarterback in his first season as a starter play really well and then can't adjust to the defensive coordinators when they adjust, when they force you to turn your weaknesses into strengths, because that's what these DCs will do. So let's see what Jordan Love does this year. I like him. I'm not saying I don't like Jordan Love. All I'm saying is everybody that's so quick to anoint him as the best quarterback in the NFC, let's just see him do it for a little more than 8 games. Because nobody was saying this the first 8 games of the year. Before Thanksgiving, a lot of people were talking about how Jordan Love, wow, he's not the answer in Green Bay. And now after 8 games, we're making him the next Joe Montana. Let's just relax a little bit. That's the word of the day, I think. Relax. From some of you. Some more breaking news, and I saw some of you put it into chat. Adam Schefter reports that quarterback Marcus Mariota is signing with the Washington Commanders for a 1-year, $6 million deal. Well, good for Marcus. We're not going to miss him here in Philadelphia. Not going to miss him. And I just saw, I think Big Sills put it out there, that the Dallas Cowboys are making a push to sign Derrick Henry. And then he says, wow. So let me guess. Is Big Sills in the chat? The real Big Sills? Probably not. You guys always have a fake account. But Big Sills wasn't happy about the Saquon Barkley move for the Eagles, but you're going to tell me you're happy about the Dallas Cowboys signing Derrick Henry, who has over 2,000 carries in his career, who's 30 years old, who's got a ton of wear and tear on those legs? We're going to act like that's a good move? Come on, man. Come on. Anyway, let's take a look around the NFL. We just talked about Marcus Mariota signing in. Hold on, I'm just looking in the chat here what you guys are talking about. James Jones, he just replaced Jacob. Who are we talking about? Who replaced Jacob, James? What you talking about? You talking about Jacoby Brissett? So Flexen and Steppen says, you realize we wanted Henry. I didn't want Derrick Henry. Who's we? I didn't want him. I didn't want to go after Derrick Henry. Too old. I never once said on this show, go back, pull it, if I ever said I wanted Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is an all-time player. Derrick Henry's one of the greatest running backs we've ever seen in the NFL. Derrick Henry will probably be a Hall of Famer. I did not want him on the Philadelphia Eagles this coming season at 30 years old with over 2,000 touches in his career. Not even 2,000 touches, 2,000 carries. You got to add all of the catches onto that too. So never once did I say Derrick Henry. So anyway, let's take a look around the NFL. And I'm getting Hannity 30 on TikTok saying Derrick Henry is not a Hall of Famer. I don't know, man. What do you think in the chat? You agree with me? You think Derrick Henry would make the Hall of Fame? Let me look at his stats. Let me just pull him up. Is Derrick Henry a Hall of Famer when his career ends? I mean, he's going to have, Hannity, he's going to have, if he puts up 500 more yards rushing, he's going to have over 10,000 rushing yards in his career, man. He's going to the Hall of Fame. I don't know where you're getting that he's not a Hall of Famer. On TikTok, he says he's not a Hall of Famer and then laughs at me for saying he's a Hall of Famer. It looks like everybody's in agreement, man. He's going to have over 10,000 rushing yards in his career. He's going to finish, if he needs 10 more touchdowns to have over 100 rushing touchdowns in his career. He's got another 155 catches for 1,400 yards. Yeah, man, he's going to the Hall of Fame, my brother. He's going to the Hall of Fame. But let's take a look around because there's been a little bit of a change to some quarterbacks, and this will have an impact on the Philadelphia Eagles. We did talk a little bit yesterday. Baker Mayfield stays in Tampa Bay, 3 years, $100 million. You follow this show. I know Shooter McGavin's going to get mad at me for saying this. I think Baker Mayfield is a terrible quarterback. I think the Tampa Bay Bucks were forced to give him money. They were forced to have to because what were their options at quarterback? But you look at Baker Mayfield from last season, and you really dive deep into the stats. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And I know before you even type it, but he beat Jalen Hurts in the wild card game. I don't care what happened in the wild card game. Baker Mayfield is not a very good quarterback. He's just not. I don't care that they beat the Eagles. I don't care that they beat him in the wild card game. Baker Mayfield's not a good quarterback. Tampa Bay were forced to pay him. They gave him 3 years, $100 million. So I'm not on the Baker Mayfield train. Don't like him. I don't care that he beat Jalen Hurts. I don't care. I don't think he's that good. And you want to talk about one season. Look at Baker Mayfield's career. And I see John saying, pull up the stats. Look at Baker Mayfield's career. Look at what he did in Cleveland. Look at what he did in Carolina. You'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But look, it's a quarterback league. Teams need quarterbacks. You can't survive in the NFL. I don't care how good of a coach you are. You can't survive without quarterback play. We saw what happened to Bill Belichick this year. And I see Barbara Carroll saying, I hate on every player that's not on the Eagles. That's not true. There's a lot of players that aren't on the Eagles that I like. There's a lot of players that I think are good. I just don't think Baker Mayfield's that good. Now let's get to one. I've talked about Jared Goff, the Detroit Lions quarterback. I think he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. I said that before last season, before the Detroit Lions went on the run they went on. I think Jared Goff is a very good quarterback. I think he's extremely underrated in the NFL. Doesn't play for the Eagles. And then you look at the Atlanta Falcons. Big move. This may have been the biggest move in the NFC as far as quarterback movement. Kirk Cousins signs with the Atlanta Falcons, 4 years, $180 million. Good move for the Falcons. Bad move for the Vikings. Now you put Kirk Cousins on that Falcons offense with a lot of weapons. We know he's got Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. So we'll see what he could do. Drake London. So we'll see what the Tampa Bay Bucks can do when they now have to play Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons, because the NFC South was one of the worst divisions in the NFL. So if we want to talk about Baker Mayfield, he did play in one of the worst divisions in the NFL. So things are going to get a little bit more difficult with the Atlanta Falcons now having a real quarterback as opposed to Desmond Ridder. But then the Minnesota Vikings. How long until Justin Jefferson makes his trade request? Because the Minnesota Vikings lose Kirk Cousins, and they signed Sam Darnold. I'm assuming the Vikings will be in the mix to draft a quarterback in the first round this year. But, man, that's a big loss. I know Kirk Cousins, the knock on him is he can't win big games. He can't win primetime games, but he's certainly a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. And we've seen it time and time again. There are no sure things in the NFL when you draft a quarterback. And I see Corey Allen saying Kirk Cousins is the GOAT of getting paid. You are not kidding. Kirk Cousins may not be the best quarterback in NFL history, but he may be the best businessman in NFL history because what he has made so far in this league is insane. Now, Barbara Carroll. Bill, once again, Hurts plays the Giants and the Washington Commanders twice a year. You're cherry picking. Listen, are we going to disagree that the NFC South was one of the worst divisions in the NFL? Is anyone going to disagree with me that the NFC South is one of the worst divisions? Do we really think the NFC South was a better division than the NFC East? Is that even up for debate? Hannity 30 says Kirk Cousins has made $337 million in his career. The GOAT of work in the business, man. Kirk Cousins. So some other moves. Minshew Mania will be running wild in Las Vegas. That'll be interesting to see. Minshew Mania in Las Vegas. But it should be an interesting couple days because the Philadelphia Eagles still have needs. They still have a lot of needs. I'm not happy yet. I'm not satisfied yet. I like the start, but I'm not satisfied. So when you look at the positions of need, we know they need linebackers. We know they need safeties. There are still a lot available. Derek Gunn reported last night the Chauncey Gardner Johnson reunion. There's still interest from the Philadelphia Eagles. So that could happen. But I said it when you guys were on the break on YouTube. I was talking on TikTok. That can't be all they do, in my opinion. I'm all for bringing back Chauncey Gardner Johnson. 26 years old. We know the guy can play if he stays healthy. But I need more than just Chauncey Gardner Johnson. So I'm okay if they bring him back, but I also need another safety. And I know there's a lot of rumors out there that Justin Simmons, who played for Vic Fangio in Denver, could be the guy. That wouldn't be my top choice. He's 30 years old. I'm done with the 30-year-old safeties. I don't want him anymore. Kevin Byard was 30 years old. We saw what happened. They start to lose a step. I don't want it. I want young. That's why I like the Bryce Huff move. He's only 25 years old. Chauncey Gardner Johnson, 26 years old. But give me somebody else. Get me Cameron Curl, who played for the Commanders last year, 24. I'm a little bit surprised that Geno Stone only got 2 years, $15 million from the Cincinnati Bengals. Xavier McKinney gets 4 years, $68 million. So it just goes to show you what people thought of Geno Stone in relation to Xavier McKinney. And I see Barbara Carroll saying they should have signed McKinney instead of Barkley. I don't think it was one or the other, though. This is what I don't understand fans saying. Just because they signed Saquon Barkley, that's not preventing them from going out and getting the positions of need filled on the defensive side of the ball. They were in, from everything I've heard, they were in on Xavier McKinney. They just didn't want to pay him that much money. They didn't want to pay him 4 years, $68 million. So I don't think it had anything to do with the Saquon Barkley signing. But I still need them to do more at safety. Geno Stone only gets 2 years, 15. McKinney gets 4 years, 68. But there are still a lot of safeties. We talked about Chauncey Gardner Johnson, talked about Justin Simmons. I told you I like Cameron Curl, who's only 24. There's still Jeremy Chin available from Carolina. Jordan Fuller from the LA Rams. I could see him more of a depth piece. We know Kyle Duggar from New England was only transition tagged, so he could be a possibility. And I see Jim G saying Xavier McKinney's been hurt more than Saquon. I said that earlier. That's what I don't get. The people who are mad about the Barkley signing, but, we wanted Xavier McKinney. So that's what I don't get. But then you look at linebacker. There's still a lot of linebackers available. Frankie Lavu went to the Washington Commanders, but Patrick Queen's still available. Jordan Brooks is still available. Devin White is still available. And I believe, is Willie Gay? Did Willie Gay re-sign? Or is he still available? Let me check. I think Willie Gay's still available as well, another 26-year-old. So interesting that there are still a lot of people available. So that's why I'm telling everyone to calm down. Calm down. I'm just looking on TikTok to see what people are saying here. So, and then, yeah, Austin Eckler. Did he go to Washington? Austin Eckler went to the Commanders, right? Is that where he went? So I know he only got, let's see. Eckler didn't get a ton of money from the Commanders. Yeah, he gets 2 years, $11 million. And I know some people were saying that was a good deal. I don't put Eckler on the same level of Saquon Barkley. So we'll see what they end up doing. People are asking about the Frankie Lavu contract. Let's see, before we roll here, let's see. Frankie Lavu, what did he get? Lavu got 3 years, $36 million. Lavu got 3 years, $36 million. So that's a lot of money. $12 million per for a linebacker, but that means Patrick Queen's probably going to require around the same amount of money, maybe more. But we'll see what shakes, man. We're just getting started. We're just getting started. I see Bahana Blast saying Eckler and Brian Robinson are a nice two-back system. A slow two-back system. Definitely a slow two-back system. But listen, our hour is flying by. I appreciate everybody here. Make sure you're following me. I see Barbara Carroll asking, I will be on TV again today hosting Best Show Ever. Just yesterday and today. So you can catch me if you want. But we'll be back here tomorrow, 10 a.m., probably with Kayla Santiago like we are every Wednesday. I'm working on a special guest. I don't want to say we're getting him just yet, so I will keep you updated, but there's a chance we are getting a special guest on the Power Hour this week. So I will keep you updated once that's confirmed, because that would be big news, really big news. So stay tuned on that one. But let's end like we do every Philly Sports Power Hour with a little today in sports history. And again, make sure you're following me everywhere. Make sure you're following me here on TikTok, YouTube. Make sure you're following me as well. Bill Colarulo, Philly Sports Talk, Instagram, Twitter. Give me a follow on Twitter so you can see where I am, because we're doing a lot more stuff now. Fingers crossed, things are going well in the sports talk world, getting a lot of opportunities, doing a lot of different things. So make sure you're following me on Twitter. I'll update you where I am, what I'm talking about, if you're a fan. But like we end every Philly Sports Power Hour with a little today in sports history. Not much happened today in sports history. So this one, March 12th, 1985, Larry Bird for the Boston Celtics scored the most points in Boston Celtics franchise history with 60 points. Jason Tatum tied that record April 30th of 2021. So that still holds the record. Larry Bird tied with Tatum. Tonight, Sixers back in action against the New York Knicks. Maxey is back. He has cleared concussion protocol. And the Flyers are back in action against the San Jose Sharks without their head coach, John Tortorella. So hopefully they can get back in the winning column as well. Everybody, appreciate you. Hit that like button. Hit that share button. Love that you spend this hour with me. We'll be back here tomorrow, 10 a.m. And as always, go Birds.